Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we will be playing Starlit Sinners, which sounds a bit like a Meatloaf song, but is a real deck, and it features one of my favorite cards, Starlit, Sia, and as I'm sure you may have guessed, Lee Sin. And let's talk about the general idea of the deck, where the idea came from, and it comes from Lee Sin, which when you read it can be a bit of a confusing card, reading his level up condition, I Dragon's Rage, enemies that I challenge, which is this thing which essentially, and now it kicks an enemy into their nexus, striking both. If the enemy survives, recall it. Now initially I thought that this was kicking when I first saw this card, I thought it was kicking the opponent's, whatever their attack stat is into their Nexus health, but that is not the case. It is whatever Lee Sin's attack is. So say you challenge something with level up Lee Sin, he will deal 4 damage to the Nexus, and if it kills the unit, it kills it. If not, it will recall it. Pretty strong ability, right? But then obviously when you think about it, he goes pretty well with buffs, because obviously if you can buff him up, then he will obviously kick them for more into their Nexus. So if you get a really big Lee Sin, say something like a 7-10, he'll deal 7 instead of 4. And his level of condition is that he requires 7+ spells. So I think Starlit Seer obviously goes quite well with Lee Sin, because anytime you cast a spell, grant the top ally in your deck +1/+1. So basically the idea is we are going to buff up Lee Sin, have him kick things into the Nexus, play a bunch of spells to survive, and that's how we're gonna win the game. So kind of a bit of a mid-rangey combo type deck. And so with the general idea out of the way, I will take you through the deck. We are running a majority of spells here, 25 to 15, as you would expect in a Starlit Seer deck. But let's talk you through the deck, where it does well, where it is a little bit weak. So we start with Brittle Steel, and you'll see that some of these spells are obviously designed to keep us alive, and Brittle Steel is very much one of them. Very important in an aggro matchup, and very solid spell for 1 mana. Elixir of Iron, very good for Ezreal matchups. Keeping your things alive could be important, whether that's Starlit Seer or like a Lee Sin, could be very important indeed. Eye of the Dragon, a card I'm sure you've seen some of. Attune is, it's quite nice. It's not the strongest ability, but it's pretty nice, and it gives you a Dragonling if you've played 2 spells in the last round. This is the card you have to have in an aggro matchup. You have to be getting these dragons out as quick as you can to survive, because it really does matter, and the 2 health and an extra blocker is super important. Essentially, if we don't draw this card in against an aggro deck, you're probably going to lose. It's probably the worst matchup for the deck, but I'll go into that a bit more later as well. Key Guardian is a spell that gives something barrier, which is somewhat inconsequential, but it also draws a card. So essentially it's just 2 mana cycle through your deck, with a little upside, I guess. But we want to play these cheap spells as well. They go really well with Lee Sin. If we need to give him extra, say he's on the board and we need to give him Challenger for that round, we want these spells that can just cycle through themselves and play quickly. Retreat Return can also be quite good for this. Works very well with Eye of the Dragon to retreat return it. You also get the mana back for the return. So essentially it's the 2 mana play to do all of that, and also obviously it's 2 more spells, etc, etc. Can help keep your units alive. If they get targeted by a Mystic Shot, get excited, etc. Thermo Beam, you retreat them, you recall them, they survive. Sonic Wave can be really, really good, especially with the Dragonlings. If you've got an Eye of the Dragon down, let's say you play 2 spells, you get a Dragonling. Sonic Wave gives that Challenger, and then you can give it +2 attack, making it a 4/1 Challenger lifesteal. So you essentially can kill something, and then you've played 2 spells again, so you get another Dragonling next turn, etc, etc. You go on. Starlit Seer, obviously, if you can get him down on turn 2, unless it's the aggro matchup and you've got an Eye of the Dragon in hand, you're going to play him on turn 2, then you're just going to go wild with spells. Obviously, Shadow Assassin is, and this is unfortunate, right? It is unfortunate that I am having to play elusives, but obviously elusives go really well with buffs, and Shadow Assassin is also drawing as a card, and it's just a very solid 3 mana play, and if this gets buffed, it's fine and it's good. So yeah, Shadow Assassin. I am running some elusives. I'm very sorry. It pains me to do it. But thankfully Lee Sin is more of the star of this deck than any elusive. Concussive Palm. A very, very, very good card that stuns something. Again, very good for an aggro matchup. It summons a 3-2 and can stop a big attack from them. Very useful card for staying alive and giving us a unit. And obviously we can also retreat the, what's this guy called? Tail of the Dragon to get him back as well. Deep Meditation. Probably one of, if not the strongest card that came from the new set, and yeah, it's just an insane card. Obviously in this deck works really well because we're gonna want to be playing a lot of spells, so even if this costs 4 later on in the game, it doesn't matter. The fact that it draws you 2 spells is just super good, and can get you out of a lot of situations. To Deny, obviously for sort of control matchups, this can win you a game, you know, against a Ruination or something. This can just say win the game. Kinku Lifeblade. Now I want to explain, and some of you might be thinking, well, Chris, I know another champion who works really well with buffs that's in these colors, and that's Zed. Why is Zed not in the deck? And Zed is not in the deck for the very simple reason is, if you are thinking about the sort of more elusive type normal deck, the Kinku elusive deck, Zed obviously fits right in. It's because Zed, that deck kind of wants to be aggro to mid-range, right? It's going to be finishing the game about turn 6, turn 7 when the hatchling comes down. We often aren't going to be finishing the game at that point. We're going to be working with Lee Sin to turn 10, and Zed doesn't really fit what we are trying to do. Yes, he works well with buffs, but so does Kinku Lifeblade, and Kinku Lifeblade can help us survive against aggro matchups. Zed can't. Zed is not a good blocker at all. He's a good attacker. He's very good to put what's it called, Sonic Wave on, obviously giving a quick attack challenger, even more attack. Very, very good, very useful. But Lifeblade can help us survive, and if you get a 5/5 Lifeblade from Starlit, you know, it's a way you can win against aggro, and aggro definitely was the worst matchup of this, so we don't need an aggro champion to try and fight them back, because we're just going to lose. What we need is something to help us survive, like Kinku Lifeblade, that also works very well with getting buffed. You know, if this comes out at 5/5, you're not going to complain. You're very happy that you've got an elusive lifesteal that's 5/5. That's a big threat for them. Will of Ionia is a very good card. Play it. If you're in Ionia, you're probably playing this card, and this is why this is probably one of my least favorite cards in the deck, because it kind of ruins a lot of synergies like Braum and, you know, any buff strategy there is out there. This is kind of a way of stopping people having fun. So I'm not a massive fan of that card, but it is a good card, so we're playing it. And then Lee Sin, obviously topping our curve and making a massive Lee Sin is what we will be aiming to do, and then kicking your opponent into the nether regions. And I noticed that a lot of people don't seem to fully understand Lee Sin, so it's kind of like a competitive advantage in that way as well, in that people will often, you will give him barrier even at his level up, and people will Mystic Shot him to get rid of the barrier. The thing is, and if you think that works, by the way, it doesn't work. It does not work. If Lee Sin is leveled up, if he's got barrier, it doesn't matter. Your thing isn't going to hit him because he's going to Dragon's Rage it. So he never actually strikes the unit. He just kicks it. And if it dies, it dies. If it doesn't die, it goes to your hand. And you deal 4 damage. So don't... PSA. Don't get rid of Lee Sin's barrier thinking you can lower his health. And also, if you are going to commit to a Thermo Beam or something on a Lee Sin, be very careful, because if they just play 2 spells, they can give him barrier and your Thermo Beam is useless. That's happened quite a few times as well. And when it happens, it feels really good from my standpoint. But for them, often it's game ending. So that's the deck. And now let us go and test it out. So, Monsters of the Deep. A deep deck. Playing against Unknown. Deep. That is an interesting one. I do like our elusives, but I would like for a Starlit Seer also. We could probably get rid of you. You're actually pretty good. Retreat and with a Shadow Assassin is obviously pretty good indeed. That's what we were looking for, the Starlit Seer. To help buff up In this match, probably an elusive, as I'm not sure how much they can really interact with elusives, but we shall see. We'll see what Unknown is doing. It's not much.
That egg, did it move?
Sorry, just went shut my door. He plays Hapless Aristocrat on turn 1. And that's fine. Fine by me. We will play... We're going to go Starlit in this matchup. Because we're going to have more time. If we were playing against aggro, we would play Eye of the Dragon. But in this one, I think Starlit is the right choice. Unknown likes to think, apparently. Okay, so I think we will attack with the Starlit. The difference between this being 3 and 2 in this matchup isn't too big, and he chooses not to block anyway, so that's fine. We can wait. Would have liked to see these elusives get buffed, but instead that is not what is happening. He just goes for a drain. So what we can do here then is simply return it to the board. Retreat return, it's going to give us 2 spells, it stops the drain. We get our Starlit back on the board. Helps level up Lee Sin. And yeah, overall pretty good turn there for us. So you wasted that mana on you. I think at this point we can probably go for Shadow Assassin. This draws another Shadow Assassin. As I said, I would like to see these getting buffed up rather than drawing them now, but it is what it is. So at this point, again, we'll go in with both. This time he does block, but that's fine as well. Got the second retreat return if we need it. He hasn't tossed any cards yet, I don't think. No, that was Maokai's first death. And he goes for Lure of the Sea Depths. We'll probably see a sea monster come out sometime soon. They can be a bit scary because we don't have too many great blockers. But as long as they don't have Fearsome, then we can use stuff like Retreat Return to, you know, block them out. So see what this is. It's another Grasp. So what we're going to do is simply retreat. So we've seen 2 Grasps already. Simply going to retreat, but this time we're going to play the Starlit Seer into returning Shadow Assassin. Pretty nice play there, you might say. And at this point we can probably go for Eye of the Dragon as well, which is just going to give us some value, spawning a little dragon here that we can attack with as well. Could go Kinku Lifeblade. I don't really see why not. It's extra damage. It's elusives. Got retreat return here. Okay, he does have his elusive as well. That's fair enough. That is the one elusive he does have. But I think we can still try and put on some pressure here, to be honest. Yeah, I don't hate just going all out attack on him. You can block that, that's fine. Kind of just want to deal some damage to him, to be honest. Like, let's end this game. The reason we attack there is, yes, he gets 1 good block, but we put more pressure on him, and he doesn't have too many other good blocks. Horny Toad, it's fine as well. We've obviously know that we've got this Brittle Steel here. If we do want to kill this, Key Guardian is going to help replace our hand. Haven't seen Lee Sin yet, he's on 4 of 7. He is quite a way off deep, so we aren't too worried about that yet. We're in a pretty good spot here. Obviously Lifeblade as well for an extra elusive. I mean, if we do kill this Abyssal Eye here, then we are getting a lot of damage in. We've seen the power of retreat in this game. Big time power of retreat. Plays second Abyssal Eye. That one is a bit more frustrating, but we could will at least one of them. You'd think he would attack. and he will attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block this. Well, it doesn't really matter which one I block, I suppose. But I am going to Will of Ionia you. And I'm going to... that's going to tap as one under being able to play this guy here. So I think instead we will just... Hold on. Can I retreat, return you? That's 3 mana still. Definitely going to do this. I don't think the other one really matters too much. So he could still have something up his sleeve here. But we shall see. No. So we get the kill there. Can play you again. Now knowing that the likelihood of him having an elusive right now is pretty low, to say the least. There is Lee Sin, who is almost leveled up. Will he run Ruination? Will he run Ruination? Will he run Ruination? Lee Sin could win us the game. He could win us the game, but this is the problem, right? What? Ruination could really set us back. Really, really, really set us back. But if he doesn't have it, Lee Sin probably wins the game. What we need to do is play one more spell, which we could do with something like Will of Ionia. This is such a tough call. I'm gonna do it.
A pleasure to see you, Master.
You'd think you would just snap Ruination. Look at the board. You just snap it, right? You would just snap it, and he doesn't have it. So right now, we can... Well, he could replay that. So we're going to Will of Ionia you. Well, the biggest threat here might be Grasp, to be honest. But I do need to give you Challenger. And level you up, so I am going to do this. If he grasps me, that, you know, that's fine. Technically this is getting him back 2 treasures as well, but I'm trying to win this turn. He's played 2 grasps already. Whale, the life gain could keep him alive, but it's only killing our dragonling that's dying anyway. 2 grasps already. You would think 3rd grasp is quite difficult still with 27 cards left in the deck. We can Will of Ionia you. Potentially. Come on, Unknown. Come on, buddy. It happens. He lets it happen. Lee Sin will level up. The Dragon Spirit. And now, with Challenger on, he's going to deal 6 to whatever he kills. So that's 6. That's 5. I can... Well, we'd want to challenge you last, probably, right? It goes on the stack, so I don't want you to die. So actually, I'm going to challenge the spider. Go in with everything else. So that's going to deal 6. A grasp will save him. Woo! Let's go. So there you see all the little workings of the deck, what it's trying to do, what the aim of this deck is, and it's to essentially do exactly what you just saw. Get a big Lee Sin. Would have liked to see some of the elusives get big probably in that matchup, but you know, yeah, get a big Lee Sin. And I mean, that game didn't go on too long, but if you can get that over multiple turns, you know, they can be at 20. But because he's kind of unkillable in a lot of ways, obviously stuff like Ruination and Vengeance, and you saw there the importance of thinking about what your opponent has to have. Hand reading in Runeterra is so important. It's important in all card games, but particularly in Runeterra because of the, you know, the back and forth nature of it, the sort of chess match you're playing. Super important. And you know, I guess I made the right call there. You know, I was playing the percentages, and because he didn't have the grasp, I thought, let's win the game now. We could have retreated again if we needed to, if in case of a ruination. That would have been, you know, a last resort. We still would have been punished big time, but I was taking the risk there that he didn't have it. And so yeah, that's the deck. Glad we saw, you know, the two sort of engines, I guess you would say, in action. You saw sort of mid units in action, and you saw the big boy himself. I think we played every unit, didn't we, there? We played every single unit. So that's been the deck, Starlit Sinners. I hope you enjoyed. My name's been Chris. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.